views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
And hello, welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, we'll update you on the latest news in the world of politics. Afterwards, activist groups have organized an event pretending to call attention to policies that might have affected Puerto Ricans in the island after the devastating effects of Hurricane Maria. Then, with more than 40 hand-picked food, beverage, and merchant vendors, the Bronx Market is the largest food market in the borough of the Bronx, attracting more than 10,000 people each month to its Fordham Plaza series, and it continues. Later, a year after Hurricane Maria, Lehman College also organizes a discussion between prominent journalists who've been reporting and writing about the situation in Puerto Rico. So stay tuned, because all this and much more is heading your way, because right now we're officially open. And hello everyone, I'm Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, October 10th, and you're watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is now being broadcast live simultaneously on MNN's channel. Now, you can stay connected to us via Twitter at Bronxnet TV and on Facebook at Open Bronxnet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on through the past week. We take you now through it with some Bronx updates. Well, in national news, President Donald Trump stated that he has 5 people on his short list to replace Nikki Haley as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. The president told reporters in his office aboard the presidential aircraft that Dina Powell, his former deputy national security advisor, is definitely on the short list. Powell left the Trump administration at the beginning of the year after serving as a deputy national security advisor, where she focused on Middle East policy. The president and Nikki Haley announced earlier Tuesday that she would depart her post by the end of 2018. In other news, the online grocery store Fresh Direct is preparing to open a new facility right here in our borough. The company announced it's getting ready to open a 400,000 square foot warehouse in the South Bronx, allowing it to double its business. Now, Fresh Direct was founded in New York City during the original internet boom nearly 20 years ago. Sales have already more than doubled over the last 6 years, and the company has been profitable since 2010. Well, a new United Nations climate change report says in just 12 years, life on Earth could hit a point of no return. This according to an alarming new report by the organization. Now, the 700-page report, which was released Sunday, claims that the Earth is heading for devastating effects of climate change, including deadly flooding, extreme drought, food shortages, the death of coral reefs, and extreme weather events such as deadly hurricanes, unless a major and a comprehensive plan to reduce greenhouse emissions gas should be in place before 2030. We will bring you more news on that report later on. Well, that's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We'll be back with more right after this.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke fast.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
My name is Osvaldo Adames. I grew up in the Bronx and went to school right here at the Bronx School for Law, Government, and Justice. In the 7th grade, I hadn't given college that much thought. But all of that changed when I entered the Bronx Institute at Lehman College's Gear Up program. Gear Up helped simplify the entire college application process, helping me prepare for the SATs and organizing college visits and open houses. Last year, I graduated from Hamilton College in upstate New York with a major in mathematics and a minor in Mandarin Chinese. Now, I'm a teacher at my old middle school. I think back to 7th grade, and I honestly had no idea how much help Gear Up would be. They offered me the support I needed to succeed. If you're enrolled in Gear Up, talk to your academic coach or visit the Bronx Institute at www.thebronxinstitute.org for more information.
And we are back here on Open. Activist groups have organized an event pretending to call attention on policies that might have affected Puerto Ricans in the island after the devastating effects of Hurricane Maria. Now, telling us more about this, we welcome now award-winning author and activist Julio Pabon, who shares with us. And we'll get to the good stuff real later on, but how's it going?
I'm doing very well. Very active, very involved. I thought that after my political campaign that I wasn't going to get involved in anything again. I just want to chill. But God had other plans, man. This event of respect and justice for Puerto Rico got me, I'm going crazy with the amount of stuff that we have to do for this.
So let's walk through what is respect and justice for Puerto Rico.
Well, what it was is right after the Hurricane Maria, there were so many events taking place throughout the city, especially here in the Bronx with so many Puerto Ricans. I was going to maybe 1 or 2 fundraisers a week for Puerto Rico. And I said, I think this is enough. We got to do something else, something different, something that's going to make a real lasting change rather than sending supplies, water, power plants and stuff like that every time there's a hurricane. So I called for a meeting, 3-4 people, retired individuals. In fact, now they call themselves the Red Squad, retired and extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
So they're cursing me and their wives are cursing me because now they're all involved in this campaign. I said, we should do something different. So we just put something on Facebook and about 80 people showed up to Pregones Theater. And we said, well, the rules are we're not going to talk about politics because Puerto Ricans get involved with whether you want statehood, independence, or Commonwealth, and then you never get anywhere else.
Right.
If you don't discuss that issue, can we discuss something to help the future of Puerto Rico? And we came up with one issue, which was this law. It's called the Jones Act, Article 27, which does not allow any ship that's not a U.S. carrier ship with 70% of U.S. Crew members that's built by the U.S. Only those ships can enter into Puerto Rican waters, which is part of a law that was established back during World War II when a lot of German submarines were sinking merchant ships coming in. So they figured, you know what, this is one way to protect the U.S. coastline, which is only ships that are with U.S. flags and U.S. Crew members can dock. But that doesn't apply to Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico is an island. So 90% of everything that comes into Puerto Rico comes in through a ship. And what it really was exposed was during Hurricane Maria, where Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, and all other countries, Argentina, wanted to send stuff to immediately help Puerto Rico. Right. Those ships could not dock. they had to stay outside. And then the big one was that caught the news was Greenpeace. When Greenpeace sent that famous ship that they send all over the world when there's a catastrophe.
And you couldn't get in.
Couldn't get in. They had to stay about 20 miles outside. And then other smaller boats had to go and unload stuff and bring it into Puerto Rico that were U.S., flag ships. And that's it. That law affects us in such a way that everything that you buy in Puerto Rico, from this iPhone to that pen to that tie to this jacket, costs 25% more on an island that's poorer than Mississippi. So we said, let's attack that issue.
So let's talk about the maritime law for a second, because how many people, first of all, on Puerto Rico's side and maybe on our side are really familiar with it?
Nobody knows about this law. We had a fundraiser here in the Bronx to raise money for this, and a lot of our African American and Anglo brothers and sisters who attended the fundraiser and Puerto Ricans, when we told them about this law, they didn't know. They think that the Jones Law is the one that gave us citizenship, or better yet, imposed citizenship on us in 1917. They don't know that there's an Article 27 of it, which was later back in the 30s, that basically is the maritime law, which does not allow these ships to enter Puerto Rican waters. And that's crazy. So all these ships, an avocado from the Dominican Republic to come to Puerto Rico has to go to Jacksonville, Florida. In Jacksonville, Florida, they unload the avocados and then reload them on a U.S. carrier ship, which is the most expensive in the world. And that ship comes to Puerto Rico. Then they unload them, then they can ship them. So an avocado that can easily cost us 25 cents or 50 cents because it's coming from a sister island is costing about $1 something, when it could cost much less because somebody has to pay for the transshipment of these articles coming to Puerto Rico. So we're being hit in such a way that many people on the island, now that are aware of this, have all said, hey, we need to change that. The governor, interestingly enough, though we don't see eye to eye with him, on many issues of the recovery for Puerto Rico, he was putting together an economic plan to help build Puerto Rico, and he had meetings with different sectors of Puerto Rico. The Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce said, hey, you want to help Puerto Rico? We got to get rid of this law. The distributors, these are all millionaires, these are all Republicans, these are all statehooders. They agreed that we got to get rid of this law. And a couple of other, the legal association. He had it in his plan. He got a call from Congressman Hunter. Does it ring a bell, Hunter? He's the guy who was just indicted, or he's been accused of I don't know how many counts of fraud. That congressman is the chairman of the Maritime Commission. He called Rosselló, the governor, and told him, you got to take that paragraph. You got to take that out of your report. And Rosselló, like he buckled when Trump was next to him and said only 16 people died here, that same governor who didn't say anything also buckled and took that part out of the report. So somebody got to say something, and we figured the diaspora, while in Puerto Rico, Puerto Ricans cannot vote, but we can serve in the army, we can get drafted, we can die in all the wars, but here we can vote. So I'm organizing this event called Respect and Justice for Puerto Rico, and hoping that we can get Puerto Ricans throughout all the 50 states, or as many states as possible, and friends of Puerto Rico, to have an event that weekend, and then pick up the phone or send a letter to their local congressman, whether they live in Tupelo, Mississippi, Iowa, Minnesota, Utah, and tell their congressman, who a lot of them don't even know what Puerto Rico is or where is it, right? That, hey, you need to put attention on this law.
Let's give the when and where for people who want to come and attend.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us when and where.
Well, the biggest events are, we're hoping that if you have any friends out there throughout the United States, man, tell them about this issue. Tell them that they can go to our Facebook page, Respect and Justice for Puerto Rico. All the information is there. All we want is people around the country to have an event on the weekend of October 26th, 27th, and 28th. Why that weekend? Because it's 2 weeks prior to the general election. And we focus 3 major events. You know where? Not in New York, where the diaspora is always known as. Puerto Rican diaspora is New York, Puerto Rican diaspora in Chicago. No, we're going to Florida. Why Florida? Because 150,000 Puerto Ricans have moved into Florida, and we can move that state from a red state to a blue state if we go there and organize.
You started this segment off talking about you weren't political. Okay. All right. Before we get out of here, let me say congratulations. Your book, Knockout, Fidel Castro Visits the South Bronx. It won a couple of recent awards. Tell us real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, it was crazy. We were nominated for a Montaigne Award, which is a very prestigious, Anglo award, worldwide known. It was mentioned there. I didn't win an award there, but it was mentioned. The mere fact that it was mentioned was great. But then I also got mentioned, and I got nominated for the International Latino Book Awards, which is the most prestigious awards given to the Latino authors around the world. So we went to Los Angeles. We won second place for nonfiction, and we won second place for best political/current events book.
Congratulations. My brother
Thank
Julio
you.
Pabon.
Thank you.
Welcome back, and glad to have you. We'll have to play this basketball game again.
Oh, yes. Well, you know, we got to take that trophy away from you guys.
Right now, Bronxnet holds the trophy, and we continue to hold the trophy. We have this event every summer, and we won the last time, and so winner gets the last word. We're done. Talk to you later.
Drop the mic. He did it.
Drop the mic. There you go. Julio Pabon, our guest here on Open. Listen, stay with us. We got more show coming on right back after this.
Thank you.
Hey, man.
Chiru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
And you're watching Open. Thank you for staying with us. We turn now to the world of politics. The resignation of UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, Governor Cuomo leading in a campaign fundraising, and the newly confirmed Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Just a couple of things we're going to discuss here on our political segment. We're pleased to be joined on the phone by Michael Benjamin, and Michael's the associate editor of the editorial page of the New York Post. And good to have you back, Mike.
Glad to be here. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Listen, let's get right at it. Of course, Nikki Haley's resignation coming as a huge shock to a lot of people. Mike, what are we to read into this? Because even though it's a resignation that takes place at the end of the year, is it because she has more political aspirations, or is it because we're just fed up with the president?
I don't know. I can't say she's fed up with the president. I would take her at her word. She says that it's time for her to move on. She's been in public life for 14 straight years. A member of the legislature in South Carolina, their governor, becoming the UN envoy for the United States, working in the Trump administration. I think she's done a solid job there. I think she's worked well. I mean, she didn't work well with the previous Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. She's supposed to be working well with Mike Pompeo. Sometimes family comes first and want to move on. I mean, there are those that are saying, on the left are saying that there was a report out where she may have taken a trip on a private plane and may have gotten tickets to a basketball game that she didn't properly report, and the group wanted her investigated for any kind of ethics violation.
Yeah. Well, when we talk about Nikki Haley, one of the questions that came to mind was President Trump's recent visit to the UN. Of course, a lot of criticism given there, and how tumultuous that relationship is between Nikki Haley and possibly others after the president left, and the possibility she just doesn't want to deal with that. anymore.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there's another report that I had forgotten what I had read last night, where I take out her words. She's been in office 14 years in public service, earning a public servant salary. She and her family, I understand, may have racked up some debts, and going into the private sector will allow her to earn money to pay down her debt. When you're a public servant, you don't really earn a lot of money. I mean, yes, you get a lot of public accolades, you get to go to events, but sometimes family comes first, and you have to do what's right for your family economically. I believe she's doing that more so than being out of sync with the president's foreign policy. I think she's represented him in the United States well at the UN when it comes to defending our allies, standing up to tyrants, putting pressure on the UN for sanctions against North Korea to get them to the table, talk about reducing the nuclear arms, and dealing with the UN General Assembly, which has had a history of over the last 20, 30 years of being heavily anti-Israel in many of the resolutions, and she stood up and she's pushed back against that, and that's won her praise.
Yeah, she's still, definitely talked about when it comes to the area of Israel. A lot of people have said because she took that stand, it really solidified her as a real legitimate leader. I want to go here for a minute, talk about Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. He's now been confirmed taking office, and the word from him is he is going to be a team player.
Well, I guess on the Supreme Court there are 9 members. I guess you're a team player when it comes to, working collegially. But when it comes to deciding on opinions, writing cases, you tend to go your separate way. You offer your legal thoughts about something, and then there's a vote. And then you can either be assigned, if you have a strong enough case, assigned to write the majority decision, or you can write your own dissenting opinion, work with others in writing a dissenting opinion. I find it interesting that the 4 law clerks he hired are all women.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you talk about Brett Kavanaugh, obviously the testimony will stand out for history, along with that of Clarence Thomas. Where do you rank that in terms of the whole testimony with Kavanaugh, the explosion? Where do you rank that in terms of I
would say I'm not that old, Daren, to be able to rank the Supreme Court nominees and their testimony at hearings. But Kavanaugh, in my opinion, he showed an ill temper when it comes to pressure, and I thought he was rather disrespectful towards a couple of senators who asked him some hard questions. And I know he was under pressure. He was feeling pressure. His reputation was being impugned. But you need to maintain your cool and calm, and that's supposed to be the hallmark of a sitting judge, to be able to keep emotions in check and to look at the facts of a case and make your decision and make your presentation. For that, I kind of thought he was disqualified in that regard, in being politicized, saying the attack on him was revenge for his work on the Clinton impeachment 20 years ago. Yeah. I mean, to me, that showed that he has a political bent, and that does not bode well for the Supreme Court.
Before we let you go, what should we be paying attention to in the news from your perspective?
Well, what I would say, I just learned today that Governor Cuomo was out on Long Island supporting Democratic state Senate candidates. I understand that, according to the Gothamist, he had them sign a pledge where they would put pressure on New York City to pay its fair share on the MTA, I guess, when it comes to the subway and bus service, which is, I guess, his effort to try to gain leverage over the mayor. As you know, the mayor has said that New York City does pay its fair share, and they don't want to pay. The city doesn't want to pay any more. And now the governor's trying to get the state senate on his side, particularly suburban senators, who also pay into the MTA for their Metro North service. They want the city to pay more. So we'll see how it goes. The governor is continuing his sort of war with de Blasio and the city, and to me, that can't bode well. Even if you have a Democratic state senate, Democratic assembly, and you want all 3 branches, all 3 chambers with the governor to work together for the benefit of New York City, not to its detriment, or to carry out, continuing political vendetta against the mayor.
Yeah. All right, Mike, well, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Michael Benjamin, our guest here on Open, and thanks so much for sharing with us, Mike.
Thank you.
All righty. Taking a quick break. We got more show coming up. We'll be right back right after this.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Well, 1 year after Hurricane Maria, Lehman College is organizing a panel discussion between prominent journalists who've been reporting and writing about Puerto Rico. We welcome now Dr. Rima Brusi, who's a writer in residence at the Center for Human Rights and Peace Studies. We welcome you now to the show, and good to have you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Good. So we talk about Puerto Rico. You know, Julio was on a little bit earlier talking about the work of raising awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You're raising awareness from a different perspective, and that's journalism per se. Let's talk about the journalistic piece, because we're taking a look at how people are taking, how people report on Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
and give us a little bit more.
Well, I think this panel is relevant not only for those who care about Puerto Rico and about the aftermath of Hurricane Maria, but also about those who care about journalism's role in helping us engage with the truth in what some have called the post-truth era, right? Mm-hmm. So we have chosen Hurricane Maria as the theme to understand how journalists can help us ask the right questions, ask better questions, provide us with answers to those questions, and help us in general become engaged citizens.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about these journalists, so the panel discussion will talk about specifically what? Integrity?
It will talk about the tools and questions you need to ask in the aftermath of natural disasters, such as, for example, Hurricane Maria. Our panelists were chosen because they were particularly good at providing an in-depth kind of coverage of the kinds of things that were happening on the island after Hurricane Maria. And in particularly, they were good at asking questions that a lot of people were not asking at the time. For example, at the time, this number of deaths, number 16, was being used by official authorities. It was journalists, investigative journalists, the one that started saying that number doesn't sound right, and started investigating the death, and today we know it's around 3,000 deaths instead. Right. And the same thing happens with the ways in which the people affected by the hurricane were portrayed by some in the mainstream press as victims, as passive victims of a so-called natural disaster. Journalists did a great job. Some journalists did a great job at sort of reminding us that these were humans that were the victims of neglect, and also were engaged in powerful, often heroic efforts to rebuild and help each other out. Right. So those are stories that we need to tell and we need to know about.
Yeah, and when we talk about that, I think when we as journalists go in, we follow the main lead and we stay with that main lead. But there's so many other layers. What more are we going to be able to get and hear from some of these journalists? Because, as you said, they did some great in-depth work, and they didn't go for the basic natural story that we would talk about, but really taking it a step further and doing some real, putting the work in is what we call it.
Yes, we have a great panel, frankly. I'm really happy with the panel because we have all kinds of things. We have Carla Minet, who's an investigative journalist, and she was part of the team, an integral part of the team that was in charge of counting the debt and developing a database of the debt that not only estimates numbers, such as what the studies do, but also they went to people's homes and talked to the families.
Wow.
So those debt that they've been able to count have names, and they have addresses, and they have families, and they have stories behind them, right? So there's that investigative journalism piece. We also have Ed Morales, who writes for the New York Times, The Nation, and a number of other places. And he was really good at sort of placing the whole the aftermath of the hurricane and the way it was mishandled in the context of a situation that includes a debt, right? A recession that has been going on in Puerto Rico for 10 years, a very peculiar relationship that Puerto Rico has with the United States, and your previous guest sort of talked about it a little bit. And also the fact that in order to pay bondholders in Wall Street, Puerto Rico is having to cut on basic services, and that had an effect in the aftermath of the hurricane and caused some of these debts. We have Ana Teresa Toro, who wrote beautiful pieces that sort of humanized Puerto Ricans and sort of portrayed our plight and represented it to the world in a way that makes us not victims but humans, fellow humans. And finally, we have Alana Casanova Burgess, who did a beautiful job at WNYC, sort of going in depth into those issues.
So Dr. Rima Brusi is here talking about journalism in the age of disaster. Now, if you want to know where you can find it out, you can find out more about it Thursday, October 11th, 12:45 to 2:30 at the Music Building Recital Hall, and that's our room 306 once again. Thursday, October 11th, 12:45 to 2:30, Music Building Recital Hall, room 306. Dr. Brusi, thank you so much for coming and sharing.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want you to have a good time over there.
Okay,
thank you. All righty, taking a quick break. Got more show. Don't go away. We're coming right back in a few.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
There is a new alert in the Pennsylvania area of the spotted lanternfly. It has the potential to greatly impact the grape, hops, and logging industries. Here now to tell us more about it is arborist Eric Brito, and we thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So give us a little bit about where we are here. Walk us through this.
Well, it's an insect that was recently discovered in Pennsylvania not too long ago, and Pennsylvania currently is under quarantine. So we are basically just putting an alert out to our metropolitan area to keep an eye out for this insect that is, can be potentially devastating to a lot of our vegetation, our trees, a lot of our homegrown grapes and vegetables.
So what has happened so far with this insect?
It feeds, it hosts, it multiplies, and it just spreads.
Mhm.
And it spreads rapidly. Therefore, it's important that we can identify it, put it in check when we can, and just be aware that it can make a big effect on just destroying our trees and just our vegetarian here in the city.
Right, we've got so many trees and parks here in the Bronx, and a lot of care and concern. What do we know about this insect as regards to our area?
Well, we know that it's still yet to be found, but that's why we're making the alert out. We want the public and the community to keep an eye out. If it is identified, contact your local arborist, and we would definitely go out and take a look and determine what the best steps would be to put on the check.
So give us a little bit more about, can you describe the insect for us?
Well, it starts off in like a small little beetle type. It's black spots, and then it turns into a red sort of beetle, and then it converts into a moth type looking, actually really good looking moth.
Mm-hmm.
Grayish spots, and then on the body it has very unique pattern, really bright red underwings. It's about 1 inch long, and it can not really fly. It does more like leaps, jumps, and it finds its host, and it multiplies and feeds.
Is there a time of year that we particularly have to be really concerned about this?
Well, where we are right now, we're in the fall, which means that they're laying eggs, and they can lay eggs anywhere. Hard surfaces, cars, stones, patios, anywhere, any surface that they can find, they will lay eggs.
On hard surfaces?
On hard surfaces. So right now it would be good to keep an eye out for an egg mass, like a grayish egg mass, a waxy surface. And if it is found, destroy it. Destroy it, get rid of it. Not sure, always call an arborist. We would go out there, scout, and take care of it.
So when we go back to Pennsylvania, let's talk about how bad it is for them out there.
Well, we know that it's under quarantine. Therefore, it's big alert is out, and a lot of it's under control of movement of any wood. We want to make sure that it doesn't spread and leave Pennsylvania any further than it needs to.
So if anybody finds anything, they're to contact you, or
you can contact me directly, or your local arborist, community. There's plenty of us.
All righty, Eric, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us a little
Pleasure.
bit of this information. Great. All righty, listen, we are taking a break. We got more show. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
And I can't change, even if I try, even if I wanted to. My love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Well, in case you haven't heard, the Bronx Night Market is the largest food market in the Bronx and Westchester County, attracting more than 10,000 people each month. Our reporter, Darissa White, brings us the story.
This is the 4th edition of the Bronx Night Market. Now we're going to see how things progressed from the summer into the fall. Two's company, three's a crowd, and four's a party. Bronx Night Market held its 4th edition in September, continuing to solidify the food festival's popularity in our favorite borough. Lucky number 4 seemed to be the theme as the market introduced 4 new vendors to the lineup. Amanda Celestino spoke with us about the fall market and what to expect.
I feel great. I feel like this is another good one. The weather is beautiful. There's a lot of like autumn spirit in the air, and Fordham's back in session, which is great. So we have some new blood here, but it's one of my favorite. I say it every time, but it's like my favorite time. It's like my new favorite market. I thought I loved August, but now I love September.
We spoke to a new vendor who's serving up some gelato with a side of stress relief.
We also offer an optional CBD cannabis oil on our gelato. It's the cannabis oils from the hemp plants, but it's not the psychotropic. THC is the psychotropic. The CBD is the relax. So it's supposed to help with inflammation and help with some anxiety. So we offer it as an optional topping in our gelato.
And for the people wondering what the difference is between gelato and ice cream, well,
gelato has a lot less fat because it's mostly milk, whereas ice cream is mostly cream. And it also has a lot less air, which is why it feels so much like denser and smoother and creamier. So the flavors really burst in your mouth. They're very, very extreme.
Or how about this vendor whose ceviche is sure to leave you speechless?
A Peruvian raw fish, cooked with the lime juice, marinade with the Peruvian hot pepper. For Peruvians, the ceviche gotta be spicy.
Contestants described the assortment of flavors and textures from Caspanish, Uncle T spices, latzalacas, jibarito, pork cube, and impayea. What are you tasting when you taste this?
It tastes like ginger.
This is definitely Caribbean.
It's definitely cinnamon in it.
It's really good. It's like tangy in a way. Peppers, I think.
It tastes like chicken.
All right, so everybody give them a round of applause. Yes. This year's final Bronx Night Market is October 27th, and we'll be sure to go out on a high note. Reporting for Bronxnet, Darissa White.
Here now to tell us more, we welcome now from the Bronx Night Market, we've got Marco Shalma and Amanda Celestino, organizers of the Bronx Night Market, and we welcome you to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great work.
Thank you.
A lot of work. It's coming down to the end.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I'm glad you say that because a lot of people don't understand the amount of work that takes during the month leading to that event. You know, a lot of people ask us to do like a weekly event or bi-weekly, and every time they say that, Amanda,
she's like, no.
It takes a lot of work, a lot of organization, you know, just dealing with like vendors and publicity and social media and all that. But it all ends up in like one beautiful event.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one, October 27th, that's going to be like our grand finale, like season finale for 2018, and we couldn't be more excited.
What can we expect, Amanda?
Well, we have about 10 new vendors coming, so that's an exciting addition to the lineup. And it's some different food. I don't want to give too much away, but we have some more international eats, which is exciting. We have some autumnal surprises and sweet treats that are, you know, inspired by the season. And it's just going to be it's also longer. It's 4 to 10, so it's about an hour longer. So we have more music, more programming.
And we talk about, you know, between the Bronx and Westchester County, this is the largest. And how do you feel about that in terms of the public participation, the vendors that you have? Because I know it takes a lot to get these vendors out here, and to have the amount of vendors you have, to have the kind of crowds you have, it's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would even add that it's like larger in Upper Manhattan, Uptown. I don't think there's ever been like such a successful event from Uptown Manhattan all the way to Westchester County. The first one that we did, we got over 10,000 people, and it just keeps growing and growing, and the vibe is unique. What really makes this special is the fact that we're in the Bronx. Like people come over there and they feel like it's like a family. It's not, it's not a bunch of vendors, selling their stuff, independently. It's literally you come in and you feel like you come into like a group, like a community. And that's really what makes it so unique. And, if you follow the social media, like at the BronxNightMarket.com or at the Bronx Night Market, you will see the engagement on, like 4 weeks before, 3 weeks before. It's insane. People really love what we did and they support it, which makes it so successful.
Also, even the vendors are very friendly with each other behind the scenes, which is nice to see. They're selling next to each other, but I get requests all the time, like, can you put me next to them again? I love being next to them. They're my homies.
Yeah.
So it's fun that they all enjoy each other too, and I think that also adds to the good vibes that everyone who comes is just like excited and having a good time.
And it's great for, I mean, it's got to be great. I know it's great for the community because you have all these great vendors, you have all these different food types, and it's basically community, right? And this community coming together, having a great time, and doing this multiple times. You said from June all the way through October. Is there a standout? Any one particular time that stood out between June and October for you guys?
For me, it was the last one, September, because that actually was the first time where it was more of a night market, because we start usually at like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and during the summer month, we end up at 9, which is just starting to get dark. But this one in September, when it got dark around like 5:45, it just felt like right. It just felt like this is the vibe, this is the energy, and and Amanda does a great job of like making sure that we have about 80% of our vendors local from the Bronx. People that are what we call food entrepreneurs. Food entrepreneurs that they can get the chance to shine and expose themselves to a large community. Plus, we'll bring 20% of like New York favorites. Like greater New York favorite, and it's a great mix. And the musicians are all Bronx-based, up-and-comers. So the vibe. It's just, wow.
It's really the Bronx. It's really the Bronx.
Yeah.
So we have one more day, and the finale is Thursday.
No.
I'm sorry, Saturday.
Saturday, 10/27, October 27 at Fordham Plaza. That will be the season finale, and we'll announce a few things for the future. Some other things that we've been working on, including like next year's series. It's kind of funny because as soon as one event finishes, like a month work finishes, the next day we start working on the next one. But we're excited. It's been a great journey so far. I look forward for that.
What's the best part for you putting it all together?
I think when I walk through after all the vendors have set up and people start coming in, that's my favorite moment. Like when people start coming in at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's full and the vendors are cooking and I see the layout and I hear the music in the background. For me, that's the most fulfilling part is when it starts.
And as putting this on, there's a lot of nervousness, obviously, trying to put it on, is it?
Not anymore. I think before the first one.
I still have that.
I don't have that.
No?
I was nervous leading up to the first one, but after the first one went off, I was like, all right, we got this now. So now to me, it's like a formula, and I feel really comfortable. He's nervous enough for both of us.
Well,
I'm a cool cucumber all the time. I'm always like, it's
it's all gonna be good.
It's all gonna be great.
I don't know if it's that, but before every event, I call Amanda and say like, are you sure people are gonna show up? Because I'm always sure like nobody's gonna show up. It's just gonna be her and I, and then
and the vendors, and
it just gets better and better. So for me, it's always like because I deal more with the marketing stuff, so it's me nervous. Like I make sure that I do my job right. So yeah.
And I'm more of a it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Well, that's a powerful combination. It's done very well. It's gotten you this far.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage people, make sure that you go out and check out the Bronx Night Market. The grand finale is coming, and yes, it's going to be a little autumnal, and yes, you'll have some fun, some food, and get some music and all of that. So come on out. Tell people where to come if they don't know where to come before we leave.
So it's Fordham Plaza, 4 to 10, 10/27, and don't be afraid if it's a little chilly. Just bring a light jacket. It's gonna be great.
Don't be
Just
scared.
come hungry.
Don't be scared. There's plenty of food, plenty of warm energy. You don't have to worry about the cold. We have hot drinks. We have sweet desserts. We have good food.
Yep.
So just bring a jacket.
And it's going to be packed, so it's going to be nice and warm.
Yeah, and
body
people are
heats.
always dancing,
Right.
and you heat up real quick. So
That's right. That's what we do here in our borough. We
Yeah.
do it up. All right, well, make sure you code out. check it out. And thank you guys so much for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great work. All righty, listen, taking a quick break. We've got more Open coming up. We'll be right back right after this.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made this vacation happen.
Double points with every purchase?
Cleverly merging promotions.
Love it.
Cross-referencing travel sites. And booking all your flights with those...
Vouchers. I got us bumped.
They were like, oh. But now they're like... Aloha. You aced this vacation. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
If you want to stay in the know about the latest happenings in Español, check out Diálogo Abierto, Bronxnet's own Spanish show, Wednesdays, 6:30 p.m. on Channel 67. The latest in news, arts, culture, politics, and what's going on in your neighborhood. Diálogo Abierto, the best way to stay connected in Spanish. See you there. Te esperamos.
And we are back. Bronxview is an organization dedicated to providing educational and creative resources for children living in the homeless shelter system. Joining us now is the founder, Anthony Welch, and we welcome you now. Good to have you, brother.
Thank you so much.
Hey, so talk about this here. So you decided to found this organization, and you wanted to really deal with the homeless population.
Yeah, so I have to be honest. Finding a mission for this was very hard. We started off with collecting bags for the homeless. 2 bags turned to 20, 20 turned to 40. And then what we did is we said, you know, we want to help the homeless. But after 6 months of going into this, we said we want to be effective. So what's the most important way to be effective? To come with a more stronger mission statement. So our mission statement went from being general to more specific to children in the homeless shelter system. Yeah.
So talk about what you do.
So right now, we provide everything from educational to creative resources. We're working with a few tutoring organizations. We're working with a few organizations that provide hygiene materials, arts materials, because we want to let children know in these conditions that there's still someone fighting for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Our mission statement kind of is homelessness is complicated, but childhood shouldn't be. You know what I mean? So those are something that we believe, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you take on this mission? I mean, homeless children, you know, it's not the everyday mission, especially for a young guy like yourself.
Yeah.
How'd you first say, I want to do this?
So it started off by, I am a Lehman College student. So I took some time off from Lehman, I admit, to focus on my non-for-profit. I had a vision, I had a mission that I knew I had to let it out in my head. So I came up with this idea because a lot of people are underrepresented in the Bronx. And when people think of homelessness, they think of adult, maybe asking for change, but that's not what it is. There's more to it. After doing a lot of research, I started to realize that children are the heart of the future. Children are the heart of the Bronx. So how can I be a pillar to be an impact to those children? So I said, you know what, I'm gonna be that change maker. So I just decided to speak up about it, yeah.
And when you look at children in the homeless shelter system, it's not something we always pay attention to. How bad is the problem of having children in our homeless shelters?
It's bad because, for example, at a young age, you could probably remember a lot of fond memories you have as being a child, right?
Of course.
And now let's say we take away half of those fond memories you have. Children are left with mental illness at a very young age. Children are left with not a lot of resources to fend for themselves. And it is a problem. Coalition for the Homeless posted the stat that, that there's about 22 children homelessness of August 18. They posted a stat. And just imagine that, being a child 8 to 10 years old and always on the go, transitional, never having a steady pace home. And it does a lot of, it has a residual effect. And a lot of people don't realize that, yeah.
So, for people who want to participate, how can people participate, assist you in what you're doing?
So, it's great that you say assist, because we have 2 people on the team right now, and we're always working. We have 9 to 5s, but we still do this after our 9 to 5s, and it's a lot. We went from working with local businesses to working with Senator Jamal Bailey of the 36th District. He's a great ally of our organization. We actually have a activity center that we sublease 2 days out the week, Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 7:30 to 10. If anybody wants to volunteer, 7:30 to 10 p.m., 977 East 233rd Street. Come out, help. We have a movie night, game night. We have our upcoming fundraiser event, October 25th. All the money raised in that event funds our cause. So if you want to help, you can send us an email, see us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Catch them.
Yeah, you can catch us. That's
it. Well, great work, and definitely some great advocacy that you're doing on behalf
Thank you so much.
of our young people. And thank you so much for coming and sharing.
No problem.
I know some people are going to tap into you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All righty. Well, thank you, Anthony. We want to thank you, because guess what? We've come to the end of our show today. Want to thank all of our guests for joining us, and most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67. Verizon Files, if you have that, well, that's Channel 33. Or catch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. For all of us here on the set of Open, Daren Jaime saying take care, God bless. Special shout out to all those watching live on Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And what's up? Talk to you later.
Over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.